Welcome to Yes Also. I'm Suzi Barrett, and my guest today is a legend among legends, Anthony King. Anthony's improv career spans comedy sports, Chicago City Limits, and UCB, where he served as the artistic director in New York for several years, and played on the powerhouse teams Dillinger and Reuben Williams. He's also written 2 Broadway musicals, Gutenberg and Beetlejuice, and most recently was the showrunner for Jury Duty 2, or the actual title, Jury Duty Presents Company Retreat. We talk about all of that stuff and more here. This is a really dense episode. Part 1 focuses on his early years and his New York chapter, including his work with Improv Everywhere, which I am a huge fan of. And in Part 2, we talk about common improv pitfalls and Anthony's solutions for how to avoid those. And we deep dive on Jury Duty 2. You'll get a glimpse of how the sausage was made and come away with some helpful takeaways about character games and sustaining monoscenes. Part 2 is available for subscribers, and that could be you by going to yesalso.supercast.com. It's $8 a month. It's a great value, and we would love and appreciate the support. For more Anthony, check him out at UCBLA the first Friday of every month at 8:30 with The Smokes, or occasionally with ASCAT. But you don't have to wait for either of those, because actually, here he is. Anthony King.
Hello.
The legend.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you, and thank you for your support of the podcast.
Longtime listener, never submitted a subscriber question before, though. So,
well, you can submit one today for yourself.
I could. Oh, for myself, yeah.
You actually could leave one for the next person.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I've known you for years, but I don't know much about your journey. I know you started in North Carolina.
I did. I started doing comedy sports like so many people on this podcast with Jim Woods.
Yep.
And Eric Honeycutt, who is like a longtime Chicago.
I know Eric very well.
Yeah, on The Reckoning. And Jordan Gargello, who I think is still in Chicago.
He's in Chicago, right?
So weirdly, for a little pocket of people doing comedy sports, went on to stay involved in improv for a long time.
Yeah, like that was in Raleigh, right?
Yeah, Raleigh. And then when I was in school at UNC, we opened a Chapel Hill, or they opened a Chapel Hill branch, and that's where I mostly performed.
Why were there so many funny people in Raleigh? Because you guys are all really funny.
Like, I discovered it in high school. This guy, Ross White, who is still a very close friend of mine, I met him at this program called Governor School in high school, and he was already doing it as a high school student, and was like, you got to go. And so when my senior year of high school, I started going to see shows at Comedy Sports in Raleigh and fell in love with it. And then my freshman year of college, they opened the Chapel Hill branch, and Ross was like, you have to be part of it. And you
got drafted.
I got drafted. That's kind of been my journey through improv, is being drafted.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, it's really happened a lot. Yeah.
Talk to me about the other times, and then we'll go back and spend more time in each chapter.
Going to UCB, like when I moved to New York, to be a theater director was the plan. And so I was like, I'm done with improv. I will never perform improv again. And then Charlie Todd, who I met in North Carolina, was
He's
also
the Improv Everywhere guy?
Yep.
Yeah.
He was also at Comedy Sports in Chapel Hill.
Unbelievable.
And he was a freshman when I was a senior. And when he moved to New York, I was busy doing directing stuff. And he started taking classes at UCB and was like, you need to do this. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I have time. And he formed a practice group out of his level 1 that was called The Office, before The Office was a television show. And he was like, just come be on it. And I was like, I've never done long form before. And he was like, it's fine. You'll be fine.
Just short form, you just do it for a longer time.
Yeah, you just do it a longer time. It's not a big deal. So I learned long form in rehearsals with that group.
Wow.
Being coached by Jackie Clark.
Wow.
And then after we started performing, and there was a indie team cage match tournament. And the winner of the tournament got to have a slot in cage match at UCB. And we won that tournament, and then went on a long run at UCB at cage match, winning like for a while. And so when I finally took level 1, I was performing in cage match at the same time.
Wow.
It was very bizarre.
You were already like, a hit on stage.
It was
and
very
then,
strange.
Well,
It was like a really backdoor way in.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were in over your head in any of those things? Did it feel scary when you were doing office and cage match stuff?
It intimidated me. UCB intimidated me in general because I just felt like it was so cool.
Yeah.
And I had seen some shows there. I saw this great show that I never hear anyone talk about called The Third Degree. Do you know this show? Tara Copeland, who I had met through someone else randomly, invited me to go see it. And it was an improvised court case. I think someone should do the show again. It was really great. Curtis Gwynn was in it, John Gimberling, Tara, a bunch of people. And it was an improvised court case where they knew the roles they were going to play. So there was a judge, lawyers. I think Ptolemy Slocum was the judge when I saw it. And then when the witnesses would give their testimony, that would flash into scenes and they would break out into scenes.
Oh, cool.
And then it would come back into the court case. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But I've never heard anyone talk about it. Like, I don't know why it like fell apart or didn't get brought back as a form. It was really, really cool.
It's such a smart way to nest scenes because you have the progression. There's a natural heighten.
So funny.
You're telling a narrative story, but also you can pop out to comment on it. You can be like, and what were you thinking when you, like, would they do that kind of stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember John Gimberling's lawyer, he had he was wearing a tie, and his bit was just every time he was talking, he was loosening the tie. And then he would during the scenes, he would put the tie back on, and then when it come back, he would.
Brilliant.
It was so funny. It was just great.
Were they also playing the roles of the people in the, or it was
My memory is that the lawyers did, and they had like a bench of people who were witnesses, and then also would do those scenes.
Yeah. Brilliant.
It was cool. It was really cool.
Sorry to stick on this for so long, but do you remember what they would get for a suggestion or what would inform the case?
I don't remember now if it was just a word, if it was something more than that.
Right.
But it was
what's a crime that somebody in the room has committed and not been convicted for?
Who here is a criminal?
Yeah.
But it was. I just thought it was the coolest. But again, was intimidating to me to watch.
Yeah.
And so because Tara was also like, you should come do UCB, and then Tara though did get me to do Chicago City Limits.
Oh, cool.
And I auditioned for that and did the touring company of that for a while, right as I was kind of like getting into UCB. So I was kind of doing both for a little while.
Yeah. Do you have a preference of short form, long form, or are they equal to you?
I love long form just because of the discovery of it, of performing it. You're not, even when we were doing comedy sports, I remember a few years in, we loved like the scenic games the most because you got to actually like act, you're not just doing the bits, although the bits are fun. But I 100% think short form teaches you how to play game.
Yeah.
Because you're announcing the game before you do it. Here's what's going to be funny about this.
Yeah.
And then you were trained to figure out how many different ways you can be funny with that idea.
Yes.
And that's what playing game is in a scene.
And even things, there are certain short form games that have kind of two elements of that. Like what comes to mind is something like Good, Bad, Worst.
Yes.
Where it's like you have the conceit of like, we know that this person's always going to give good advice. This is always bad. This is always worst. So that's it baked in. On top of that, if you are playing a character in that, the onus is on you to patternize the way that you're giving good advice or the way that you're giving bad, so if you're giving good advice as a cockroach, it's like, look, I know you think I'm just a cockroach, and like catchphrasing stuff.
And you learn that if you don't do that, the audience doesn't get it.
They don't follow along.
And they don't keep laughing or laughing more. They get tired of you because if you just do the same joke, they're just like, we already know what your joke is.
It's got to be the same enough and different enough. A different version of the same thing.
Yeah.
Which is like writing scripts for Hollywood.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Something you've seen before, but slightly different.
We want it to be The Office, but something totally revolutionary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I want to back up a little bit.
Yes.
You said you moved to New York to be a theater director.
I did. That was the plan.
What was the origin of that? Back me up however far we need to.
In college, I started directing shows. I directed a couple shows.
Were you a theater major?
No, I went in pre-med and was like sophomore year, depressed, had like a 1.7 GPA, was like, what am I doing? And switched to become an English major. And I had been in some shows, but didn't love that. And then I started directing. I directed a couple shows and I was like, oh, this I love.
How did you get the opportunity to direct?
A show I was in the people that I was in that show with started a theater company.
Wow.
And
so you got drafted again?
Yeah, I got drafted again. And I had talked about then like loving the show A Chorus Line, and they were like, would you want to direct A Chorus Line?
My favorite musical.
It's your favorite?
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, I love A Chorus Line.
It's the best.
It's a different podcast.
Yeah. We'll record that right after this.
Right after the Chorus Line podcast. So anyway, I was like, fell in love with directing, and I was like, this is something I could see myself wanting to try to do.
Yeah.
So after college, I moved to New York to pursue that, and was kind of working off Broadway, or I was like assistant directing off Broadway and directing off Broadway. And my dream when I moved to New York was to someday be artistic director of a small theater somewhere. That was like my whole dream of life. And then when I was like 25, I became artistic director of UCB in New York. Not the kind of theater I had imagined.
Sure.
But still, I was like, well, what do I do with my life now? Like, I was supposed to be 50 when I did this.
Yeah.
So it was like a really weird route.
With a short candle wick and
Yes.
then, a lot of leftover wax. Does that hold up? Man, that is, what a destiny path. Because also like, that's not an easy world to kind of break into. No. I feel like, it's like,
and part of why I pivoted away
from
that was how difficult it was, especially if you're not like independently wealthy and have to make money.
Yeah.
And I also hit a place where it was like, oh, I need to go get an MFA, but I don't really want to go get an MFA. And then I'd come back and do exactly what I'm doing now. But now I have those letters after my name. And so UCB in a lot of ways kind of saved me, because I was kind of in a rut and not loving what I was doing.
Yeah. Needing an MFA because that gives you more clout to direct things.
To like get hired regionally and work professionally.
Yeah. Gotcha. Have you always been kind of like a fearless person or kind of dauntless?
No.
Because that strikes me as such a, maybe it was because you were young, but such a fearless move to be like, I know I just got into directing, but I'm going to move to New York and make a go of this as a living.
It was, I mean, I think it's the naivete of, youth. You're like, well, I'll just try and see. And I'm doing a lot of stuff that I think, for me, it was that the stuff I was doing was with, like, I started a theater company with some people I went to UNC with, and we were doing really fun stuff, but making no money, and also doing shows where, because they were like equity productions, tickets were like $25, and you're begging your friends to come pay $25 to see your black box theater show. So again, for me, when I discovered UCB, I'm like, tickets are $5?
Right.
And there's an audience?
Yeah. And
like,
some of them are free.
This place is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it was really like overwhelming.
Yeah. So at some point you're doing UCB and Chicago City Limits at the same time.
Yeah.
What was that like brain wise?
It was fun because they were so different from each other. And, the thing you don't get to do in long form most of the time that you do get to do in short form is singing. Like, not just like musical improv, but singing goofy, set songs like blues rap and things like that, and then pun games. Those are the things you really get to do in short form. So I still got to do those for a while, which was great.
You can get all your yayas out that way. And
exactly.
And then please someone endow me as a dad in this barbecue scene in our mono scene. Yeah. Okay. So when you start taking actual classes at UCB, how quickly did all of that come to you?
That was another thing that, so much for me about the reason I love improv and I love UCB. It's all about, like, I just met people and they became my life. Like, and the collaborative, the reason I am attracted to musical theater, the reason I liked directing is I like collaborative art forms. Like I'm very much, I think the auteurness is just not how my brain works. I like that we're in this together and we're going to figure it out together, and best idea wins, and we're together going to come up with something that none of us could have come up with on our own. That to me is like what's exciting about making anything.
Yeah.
So, for me, it was like, I started taking classes, meeting people, I was performing. And then and it was, again, I come in this like weird back way where I was already performing and was in level 1. But then when I got to level 3, at that time, they didn't take credit cards. You had to pay cash to like take a class
in a back alley.
It
out of
literally
a trench
was. You would
coat.
like line up on the street with your cash or check. It was wild. The old days. And I didn't have enough money to take level 3.
Mm-hmm.
And for reasons I don't know, 2 of my friends pooled money from other friends and paid for my level 3.
Wow.
Which I still, to this day, I'm like, I don't know why they did that.
They're like, hey, everybody, you know that guy who keeps making us pay $25 to go to his black box shows? Let's pay him back by paying him more again. Trust me, the math will work out later. Yeah.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah. I think that's how math works. Let's pay first and then we'll do the equation.
Yeah, it'll all work out in the end. And I've definitely not paid them back. That was a bad investment.
You immediately said, lose my number, and then pretended like you didn't know them. Yeah. What an amazing gift.
It was incredible. It was incredible. And because otherwise I would have just not stopped forever maybe, but stopped after level 2.
Yeah.
And then while I was in level 3, Herald auditions happened, which you were supposed to have finished level 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then other friends petitioned the Herald committee and were like, Anthony should audition. And they said, okay. And I got on.
Jesus.
And that was my first Herald scene.
Wow.
So I was in level 3 when I got on to Herald night.
Just the whole world conspiring to bring you into this.
I never would have been at UCB at all if not for Charlie Todd.
Yeah.
And then there's just so many people that I look back and I'm like, if not for, Ross White dragging me into comedy sports and then Charlie dragging me into UCB and Tara dragging me into Chicago City Limits. And I think that's just how, I don't know, my brain works, I guess, is I need that person I can like hold on to.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm very similar. It's like there's got to be some familiarity or something. It can't just be like a cold leap into.
It's like they're sure ground or something.
Yeah.
And then I can wager out and be like, oh, let's fine. But I have a safety net.
Yeah, you have your water wings in the pool.
Yeah.
I'm such a huge fan of Improv Everywhere. I
so much fun.
Loved all that stuff. Did you get to do any of those bits?
The early days we did so much stuff before it was, eventually it became such a phenomenon with like the No Pants Subway ride and things like that. But in the early days we were just goofing around for no reason.
Do you have any like favorite bits? For the listeners, this was like kind of early internet bits. Yes. This guy, Charlie Todd, would organize almost like prank flash mobs. Like my favorite one was like he sent like 50 people into a Best Buy wearing Best Buy manager or Best Buy worker colors. So like a blue polo shirt and khakis just to walk around. And they're not doing anything wrong, but like all the customers are coming up to them, asking them stuff. And they're like, I don't know, I don't work here.
My favorite ones were some of the early ones that were like more, like we did one called the Mobius where we made the same 5 minutes happen over and over again in a Starbucks for an hour.
Oh, wow.
And so things like we had Charlie would get in a fight with his girlfriend. Our friend Ken would walk through with a boombox playing the same part of a song. And then I think someone else like spilled their drink. And so the same things would happen. And it was just waiting to see who would notice.
The glitch in the matrix.
Yeah. And it was for like only the people there. The other one that I loved we did, which was literally for an audience of one person, was called Romantic Comedy Cab, where I got in a cab and started talking to the cab driver saying, I met this girl last night. She was so great. I said, we're supposed to meet back at this restaurant. I'm really nervous for the date. I just hope it goes well, just talking about that. Mm-hmm. I get out of the cab. Charlie gets in my cab, goes somewhere else, where my now wife, Kate, gets in that cab and starts saying, I met this guy last night. He was so great. We were supposed to meet, and I can't remember where the restaurant was to see if the cab driver would go, I know where it is. And he fully did. I was like, I know where. And so he drove her to there where I was waiting outside. He got out. He was like, this is her. She's here. She's here. And we took pictures with him. He got out his taxi medallion and posed with us. He was so ecstatic.
It's so sweet.
And as far as he knows, because this was never put online, it was never made a video. He just helped two people get together. And he was never told otherwise. And those were my favorite ones where we never like revealed anything.
Right.
It was only just like something crazy and wonderful happened and then we disappeared.
And if he somehow comes across you guys on Instagram now, he'll be like, oh my God, they got married.
I know.
They have kids. Yeah. I love stuff like that. Like I take issue with pranks that are mean or that that mess with people's minds in a bad way. That's so earnest and sweet. You gave him a gift. Like,
so much of what the Improv Everywhere was that it was all like trying to just give people an experience and something positive to happen. Like this dumb one we did called Dollar Dudes, I love too, where we just played on a boombox that I want money, lots and lots of money song on the subway. And we had leather jackets and we would just give people dollar bills. We would just announce, we're the Dollar Dudes. And we just but people would be thrilled to get $1.
Yeah. $1.
So fun.
Yeah. A free dollar is better than no dollars. Yeah.
It was so stupid, but it was really fun.
Dollar Dudes. What were the reactions to the Mobius?
It was really fun watching people realize, like, most people are moving through and don't even see it, but some people are sitting there and you would just see them start to like pay attention and then people would start, there was one guy who started going like, and boombox, like just predicting it. So that stuff was just like so fun. And then again, we just disappeared. There was never like, we are Improv Everywhere. You know, we performed this. We just ended up leaving after an hour.
It's also like, something like that is so at home in New York.
Yeah.
Because it's like weird stuff happens anyway. And it's like, you don't know if it's performance art or someone having a psychic break or like, you know, like what's going on.
Yeah. And I think flash mobs, when they became popular, kind of gave it a bad name, like because they became kind of corny and everyone was doing them. And, but Charlie started it kind of before those became super popular. And I always liked the ones that were weirder and less like giant groups of people. The smaller ones were always more interesting to me. Yeah.
I was just talking about recently, I think this was an Improv Everywhere bit. Like it was just one person setting up like a desktop computer in a Starbucks. Was that you guys? And then maybe another person joined, and it's like instead of pulling out laptops, they were like bringing their whole. I don't
remember, that might have been
rig.
Everywhere.
Yeah, but it like doesn't become anything. It's the quietest, most unobtrusive thing, and you just watch each person kind of clocking it, and they don't say anything, and they don't need to, and it's just like Anyway.
Yeah, the idea was just to give people a story to tell. Yeah, like I saw this thing today.
Yeah,
like that was the idea.
Yeah, I want to hit jury duty at some point, and that like there's a lot of overlap there.
100%.
So we'll put a pin in kind of this oeuvre.
Yes.
Yeah. But okay, so you're in New York. All cylinders are firing. Did you still have your theater company while you were doing UCB, or did that fall away?
Because that had fallen away. When I started UCB, I was still directing some. Like right after I got on a team, I'd went and left for like 3 months to go direct a show. And when I came back, I was like hitting a wall on it. And then I started directing stuff at UCB. And that was really fun because I was just raising the level of theatricality of what was on the stage, because most people at UCB didn't have a theater background. So I was like, there's a whole lighting grid. Like we could do lighting. We could have like a stage idea.
Talk about that. Like give us some examples.
Well, it was like, I remember Chris Gethard did the show that now is very problematic. But at the time, what did we know? We were naive and stupid. But he did Daryl Strawberry's one-man show where he played Daryl Strawberry. And I was like, so we filled the stage. We got all these old televisions. And so we filled the stage with televisions and also standees of other Mets. So it felt like he was populated with these other Mets. And there was one point where we moved him in and he stood among the team and talked about them. And like, so it was just looking for these ways to kind of elevate it.
Yeah.
I did. I'm trying to think of other examples of that. John Flynn did this great show about his time working at Hershey Park. And so we tried to like make it feel like he was doing a Hershey Park theme park show, like level with like lighting and all this stuff.
Pyrotechnics.
Exactly. But it was just stuff like that to like go, for me, it was just like a playground. Cause I, again, had been scrounging it off Broadway where like, what do you mean there's a tech person who's just here?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we just have someone in-house. And
that's insane.
Did you like rehang and refocus lights to like, how fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You couldn't do too much because there's so many shows that are there, but we could do specials and things like that. Made it really fun.
That's great. And then do you feel like, were there opportunities for you when you originally said you raised the theatricality level? I pictured something completely different. I pictured you like coaching people to use the stage more or to play more emotionally. Was that an element at all, or this was just indirected?
At that point, I wasn't coaching improv at that point.
Gotcha.
I was in the very much the I can still remember the first scene I did in that practice group, and I 100% was playing game, just not knowing what I was doing, and then went through the dark time of learning how to play game and being just absolutely terrible.
Why does that happen?
I think it is like you are taking something that's instinctive and trying to learn how to wield it.
Yeah. You're thinking about swinging the golf club that you've already learned how to hit a ball with. There was a
time where people might have talked about this where like Tiger Woods decided to change his stroke. And he was like, he knew he was going to be bad for a while he did it, but he would be better on the other side.
Oof,
and
what a leap.
I think that's what learning long form is that if you are funny, you know how to be funny, but you don't know how to always be funny.
Yeah.
Or to like be funny with other people on a more consistent basis. And that's kind of what you're learning how to do.
Yeah.
But it was really hard.
Yeah.
And it's so heady.
Right. Right. Now you're reverse engineering something that you're doing off of instinct, but your instinct may be wrong 20% of the time, or not wrong, but not as successful. So you've got to,
Yeah.
Did you have any teachers that helped it really click for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jackie Clark, who I just learned how to do it from, like she was so supportive and just made it simple and fun. And I just feel like I was like a sponge, like soaking up everything she was saying. Michael Delaney, who just challenged everyone to be artistic and as intelligent, really play at the top of your intelligence. And then Peter Gwynn was a later coach who I really love, again, the collaborative art form of it. And he was like all about the team and the show and elevating the show to something beyond just a series of scenes.
He was he was a formative improviser for me when I was like still in college.
Oh, really?
And I would drive to Chicago to see shows. And he was like a standout favorite every time I went. And I'd be like, oh, that guy's in it. I would call him the Matthew Broderick guy. Because at the time he looked a little Matthew Broderick.
He's got that voice.
But I would be so excited when he was in the show. He
came to New York at some point and was coaching a lot and performing. And I remember his thing was like, the suggestion is the title of your show. How can we make even the form of the show reflect that? Yeah. And that to me was such a cool kind of mind-bending thing to play with, of just like, why are we just having it inform the content of the scenes?
Right.
The whole thing could be something that reflects that.
If the suggestion is zipper and we start our show just with someone who can't get their zipper up, and then that's the last we see of it.
Right. And then we just ate a C away from it and never come back.
Yeah. Is that really a payoff?
Right.
Or do we want to have like disparate worlds that zipper together?
Yes. And sometimes it's, especially when you're trying to do it, it can feel really forced.
Sure.
And bad. And then, but that's how you learn how to do it too. Like in rehearsal, you try to do that, like force it, because you learn what feels good and what doesn't. And then, but if everyone is shared in that mentality of like, let's discover the form of this, then you will, just like you discover callbacks and connections and stuff, you often, someone goes like, oh shit, I can zipper this.
Right.
And then it becomes something that is like, that even the way you're doing the show has been changed and affected, which is so cool.
Yeah, you're putting a third eye not on just callbacks and connections, but on form itself. Yeah. And it becomes easier. Like it's like a very Chicago-y way to play.
Yes.
And I used to coach Herald teams to look at their shows that way. In Herald, you're restricted by that form, but for me, I was like, if we can close with something that feels like a group game, but that involves everything from the show, or bleed our second group game into the third beats and somehow change the order of them or whatever, people playing other things. Yeah. Stick the landing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I remember a Herald once where Jack McBrayer, right before the third beats, just came out and went, "You may have noticed it in this Herald, the men have been very mean to the women." And it was something that was like, when he said it, you're like, oh shit, that is true. And then he goes, I wonder what it'd be like if the shoe was on the other foot. And they just replayed the whole Herald with the dynamics switched.
Wow.
And things like that, where I was just like, what a cool move.
Yeah.
And it's not selfish. It's not a joke.
Yep.
It is just like a thing that you could feel it move through the audience, of this thing of like, oh, he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
And then they just nailed it with just all these little scenes. It was really great.
The gift that you give an audience as a player when you can take what you've observed and share it with the audience. They've all seen it too, but maybe they haven't clocked it. It's still subconscious. But if you can put a spotlight on it, you make them feel smart, and you also can raise the volume on certain elements and make them more important. And then, it's cool.
The coolest.
Yeah, it's directing on your feet.
It is. I mean, it is bringing. We always talk about the mix of writing and acting in improv, and so directing is also part of it.
For sure, especially in long form.
My first Herald team, I remember a coach saying, like, Anthony edits all your scenes. Like that he shouldn't be the only person editing. But I would just that was just a skill that I think had from directing, of just like feeling when scenes should be edited. I'm very, very rusty and bad at it now. I don't have the same. That's true about everything.
You walk backwards across the stage and make loud noises while you do it. Yeah. You'll get it back. It'll
come back. It'll come back.
You just need someone to pluck you into a rehearsal, and then,
It's funny. It's like I feel like now, like I obviously don't perform as much as I did. And that's the thing I miss the most, is the kind of team dynamic, and that idea of the team is going to do something, again, bigger than any of us could do on our own.
Yeah.
Because when you're just doing drop-in shows, you're not aiming at anything higher. You're just kind of aiming like, let's have a good show, let's support each other.
Yeah.
But you're not going like, we might fucking blow the roof off this place tonight.
Yeah. We're an ensemble that trusts each other and is continually getting better, and the audience trusts us.
And that to me was the most exciting part about being on a Herald team, or being on any team, was that. Yeah.
What was your AD experience like at UCB?
Oh man, I loved it so much. It was I did it for like 6 years, which is so crazy.
Yeah. That's where you got all these grays from?
Yeah, for sure. It was so long ago now. But it was so fun, because the theater at that time was just blowing up from people paying attention to it, but there was just also so much talent. Mm-hmm. And one interesting thing was that when I took over as AD, before me, the artistic director had nothing to do with Herald Night. There was a Herald committee who decided who was on teams. And so when I became AD, I was like, I should be in charge of that too. Like, that's the premiere night at the theater. It's bizarre that the artistic director's not involved with that. And there was a big shakeup of teams right before I became artistic director that for some reason the UCB were actually involved in, even though they had no idea who performed at the theater. And they had this mentality. I remember being on a call, and they were going, we're just tired of hearing about people who should be on teams who aren't on teams. So Ian was like, let's just do like IO and make like 30 teams. And I was like, hold on. It has to be something people aspire to, or you're just trash.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be.
Quantity is not quality.
Has to be selective. And so the teams got changed up, and then they were like, Herald Night will never be a successful night financially. And I was like, it will be if it's good. It just has to be good.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I changed for better or worse is when teams weren't working, I made changes to them. And that was something the committee moved very slowly on. And I didn't do it just on my own. I had my own kind of committee of coaches, and I created this whole system where coaches were would go see shows and I was like, email me feedback of every show you see. So I had constant feedback so it wasn't just my taste, because I was very aware that all of this is subjective.
It's so subjective,
and so
yeah.
I never wanted anyone to be able to go like, well, Anthony just doesn't like me, and so I can't be on a team or whatever. So anytime there were any changes made, it was a consensus thing of like, and I would discuss it with coaches and teachers and all of that. But it was, and then Herald Night became like this huge night where it was sold out, and we would have to like literally make the audience leave between shows because there were so many people outside. And they weren't just students. It was like other people coming. It became like a bigger and bigger thing. But ironically, I think while I was AD, that's when the LA theater opened, and that created this like just constant stream of people leaving, and having to replace people for that reason, I think started to undercut the whole kind of like the team being the thing. Because like when I came to UCB, you had your favorite performers, but it was all about the teams. Like the Swarm played this way, and Respecto played this way, and Mother played this way, and teams really had identities. And I think that started to blend into I can't speak to how things are now because I'm not as plugged in, but it feels like everything's kind of drop-in shows. Like it feels like the idea now is, let me get to a certain level so I never have to rehearse again.
Yeah, that's something that's a pet peeve of mine. I feel like that is the attitude post-graduating Herald Night.
Yeah.
But in my estimation, the Herald teams are still working hard and do have identities. And
that was a thing also, I remember, because this is before anyone was paid at UCB, and I was saying like the theater should pay the coaches. This is it's an institutional program. It's weird to ask people to pay in order to perform there.
In order to make your theater money.
Yes, exactly. It's one thing to not be paid. I believe in amateur theater. I think there's an argument for amateur theater as a place where you learn and the stakes are low and
where the ticket prices are cheap and free and
because you don't know what you're doing yet.
Yeah.
and then you graduate to a higher level. But to ask people to pay to do that is a weirder thing. And their response was, well, maybe we just don't require the teams to rehearse. And I was like, no,
that's not the answer.
This is still your flagship. This is what you build your whole theater on. Is how good these teams are. But that makes me happy to hear that people are still like aiming at that as Herald teams.
I subcoach Herald teams here and there, and like they all really care. And when there is a shakeup and like someone is changed off, there's like a lot of emotion about it. It's like, our team,
For sure.
And they do well. They weather the changes and are professional, but I do feel that like it is that feeling like we're working hard. And some of them rehearse twice a week.
Because I remember when there was a time when Respecto was doing a show every Saturday night at UCB, and then they also were doing a show downtown.
Wow.
And rehearsing because they just were like, we can be better.
Yeah.
And that mentality I thought was just like the coolest. Like we're at the top of our game, but we are challenging ourselves constantly.
Yeah.
It was just such a cool mentality.
And you know what was working in everyone's favor then too? They didn't have kids, and they
100%.
They were young and had energy, and those times were so special, like rife with all of that, like excitement.
I think about that. Because again, the UCB at that time was like kind of blowing up, but we were all just in a basement trying to be as good at this thing that no one cared about as we could be. And that was the best. That was like, what a dream. Like I look back and go like, wow, in my 20s, I probably should have been thinking about the future at some point, but I was not at all. I feel like I went into a black hole where all that mattered was going to the bar after shows and going like, when Suzi walked on as the elephant, do you think that was on game?
Right.
Or it kind of just felt like it wasn't heightening? Like,
she bent the game, dude. There's a certain type of gameplay where you reiterate
heated arguments about that stuff until the middle of the night. And you're just learning so much by doing that.
Yeah.
It was the best.
Yeah. A portal opened up under Gristides grocery store.
Yes.
We all fell into it. Yeah. But how special that like in most contexts, like especially in a theater world, like amateur theater and convincing your friends to come to a black box show that may or may not be good.
Yeah.
It's like this world of like, what did you say? We're all in a basement trying to be good at this thing nobody cares about, but people did care about it.
Oh yeah,
and like,
they did.
and there's the line down the block and the packed to the gills. I mean, DCM was always so insane.
Yes.
It's like lines around the corner at 5 a.m.
No, it caught on in this way that was so exciting, and it just felt like we could do whatever we wanted, and there was a real sense of camaraderie and just insanity going on that was really special. And I think I assume still exists. I'm just too old and out of it to be part of it. But but that energy and excitement at that time especially was like pretty remarkable.
And it was so concentrated.
Yeah.
Because it
wasn't cynical. It was not about, I'm doing this so I can, have a career and whatever.
Right.
That mentality was starting to form, but this was like Amy had just gotten on SNL, but she seems like, an idol.
Yeah.
It didn't feel, and it wasn't until kind of Bobby got on SNL that it was suddenly like,
wait, we can do that?
This is maybe a thing that people are going to start doing. And then people started getting shows, and Best Week Ever was a huge change of that because it was an old VH1 show, but a lot of UCB people were on it. Conan, people doing bits on Conan.
Yeah.
Those things started to shift the dynamic more into, this is a trampoline.
Right.
Into
people moving to LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about, can we talk about like the origin story of Gutenberg, the musical?
Yes.
And walk us through all of that.
So that started with when I moved to New York to pursue theater. I got this internship at Manhattan Theater Club in the music theater department. That was just me and the guy who ran the department. That was the entire department. And
this is like an indie film.
I know. He was a great guy from Kentucky. And all I did all day was read the slush pile where people would submit their musicals. And because they're musicals, they often would come with like a little CD of a few of the songs often sung by the authors. And they were just a window into insanity because like most slush piles, most things are bad.
Yeah.
But because there's a passionate person singing the terrible song, you just start going like, do they have no one in their life to tell them this is terrible?
It's why we love Waiting for Guffman.
Yes, exactly. It's the exact same.
You're so purely earnest, and you think
it's so heartfelt and terrible.
Right.
And so Gutenberg started as the idea was to play a prank on my boss and submit a fake show. And we were like, what's the worst idea for a musical? I mean, it's not even musical. It was like Johann Gutenberg inventing the printing press. It's not even a moment.
Right.
It's like there's nothing about it.
It's just a date.
Yeah, it's just a thing. And then we started writing songs, and as we did it, just like those other people, we fell in love with our terrible thing we were writing.
Yeah.
And so started to develop it as these guys who are these guys, and developed the show out of that, and then submitted it to the Fringe Festival before I was ever at UCB, and it did not get in. And then when I discovered UCB, and it was like, there's an audience and you can we did it as a spank and performed to Scott Brown and I, who wrote it. We were in it at UCB for a long time. We did it for maybe 2 years off and on.
And how did you originally know Scott?
We grew up together.
Oh, okay.
So I've known him since 8th grade.
Wow.
And we moved to New York together. So a lot of this is because we were in an apartment in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, with nothing to do.
What else are we going to do?
Yeah.
You want to write 8 songs tonight?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Again, no kids.
Right. And when you were doing it at UCB, I'm assuming it wasn't a full length.
No, it was like 45 minutes.
Okay, cool.
And then so the guy who ended up being intern in that job after me, his name's Isaac Hurwitz. He started the New York Musical Theater Festival that's now defunct. And when I became artistic director, he was like, we should do a crossover. And so a show came and performed at UCB. We developed a kind of show out of improv with them. And then we did Gutenberg as part of it as well. And this British producer wanted a cheap show to bring over to off West End. And was like, can it be 2 acts? And we were like, totally. And so we'll
just sing slower.
Yeah. So we started rewriting it, and we're kind of like writing it on the plane on the way to London.
What?
It was crazy.
Writing it on the plane on the way to
we expanded out the middle of it. Because like in our version, the Gutenberg and his antagonist, the monk, had never met. So we were like, there are other things that could happen.
Yeah.
So we kind of expanded it out and went to London, where we threw it up and did it in this little theater.
But wait, you write the rest of it. This is not a small thing. You write a whole second act's worth
Essentially, yeah.
on a plane.
Yeah, basically.
And then quickly learn your lines.
Yeah.
And then and you don't get a chance to really rehearse it. You have like a tech rehearsal.
Oh, we had almost no rehearsal at all.
Okay.
We just started doing it.
So you're basically improvising your blocking and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You've learned your lines.
Yeah. We were flat. I mean, because it was just there was no director.
Yeah.
So it was just the two of us going like, well, I'll go here and you'll go here.
Yeah,
and
treating it almost like a sketch thing. Yeah. And then you throw it up.
And then opening night, we played to complete silence. And we were supposed to be there for 7 more weeks. And we were like, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. And then the reviews came out and they were through the roof, just raves. We found out later we had drinks with one of the critics and we were like, I don't understand. You guys were so quiet. He was like, well, the audience was mostly critics. And so anytime you said something funny, we would write it down.
Oh, funny. That's how we laugh, is we quote you so that we can type it up later.
Yeah.
The irony, the printing press made that culture. So pranks on you.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
A good reminder for anyone out there who does shows for critics.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why in like bigger theaters, they paper the audience with people that aren't critics so that there are people laughing.
Yeah.
But we were in a small theater and the producer did not do that.
Oh my God.
So it was pretty wild. And then we came back and we wanted the show to be a show and not just an act. And we were like, we're not the greatest musical theater actors. So we stepped out of it. We got a director and then we started developing it and it eventually ran off Broadway. And then 2 years ago ran on Broadway.
How exciting.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
You mean being on Broadway?
Yeah.
Just how bizarre.
Yeah.
This little thing that started at UCB and that, is the goofiest, weirdest little show, to have Josh Gad and Andrew Rannells doing it on Broadway.
Incredible.
And they had this thing where there's a kind of a third character who comes in at the end and they would have a celebrity play it every night.
I saw Steve Martin did it. And
that was I was so sad. I was in LA. Steve Martin and Martin Short did it together. And I was like, Steve Martin's my number one idol. So
he's the best. Yeah. What is that character?
Basically, the whole premise of Gutenberg is that these two guys who have no business writing a musical are performing the musical, a backers audition, where they're doing kind of a reading of a musical for people who they think are going to invest in it and take it to Broadway. Mm-hmm. And so they're kind of sweatily selling the show while performing.
Reverse producers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And it's an epic 30-person musical. They play all the parts. And because they can't act, they have a table full of trucker hats and they switch hats constantly. And so at some points they're wearing 15 hats at the same time and they're switching in chorus numbers and they're switching hats and it's all stupid. And then at the end there's a big sing along and they go, ladies sing, men sing, and and now Broadway producers, and the joke being no one's going to sing, but then someone stands up and sings. And that's the big surprise, is that a Broadway producer wants to take their show to Broadway.
Love it.
So they would have a celebrity play it every night.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Man, congratulations. It's
Thank
so
you.
Cool.
It's truly wild.
And then did that lead to Beetlejuice, or did these braid together?
Originally it did, because when we brought it back and got a director years ago after London, that director was this guy named Alex Timbers, who is now a Tony-winning Broadway director. It was his first professional job. And after we did Gutenberg, he was approached by Warner Brothers about Beetlejuice and was like, I want these guys to write it. And they were like, who? And we auditioned for the job basically by pitching what we would do with it, and then worked on it for years and years and years.
Yeah. What is that like? The years and years and years of it, and I know it happens a lot in TV, but just in this context, it's a little bit different. It's theater is different. It doesn't move as quickly.
Moves so slowly.
Yeah.
A lot of the years were nothing happening.
Yeah.
Where we were just like, well, I guess it's dead.
I guess it's dead.
And we wrote multiple drafts, and we had the songs that are in the show now were written by this Australian artist named Eddie Perfect. But before him, we had other songwriters attached who were not kind of seeing the show the same way. And that took a year and a half to get them unattached where nothing happened. So it was just a lot of downtime.
Yeah. How do you weather that? Like, without getting discouraged or broken or being like, fuck this isn't worth it.
I approach everything in my career assuming nothing good will ever happen. And so
there is no bar.
I assume literally everything is going to fail and will never happen. And so when something good happens, it's like, hey, what a delight.
Got it.
And when it doesn't, I'm like, yeah, that's what I figured.
Your daily affirmations, your
is expect nothing.
Yeah. Your bathroom mirror just covered with quit now.
Yes, exactly.
It won't work. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's healthy, but that is how I approach everything.
Hey, everything works for someone. You found the thing that works for you.
It keeps you off the roller coaster.
Yeah. Let's circle back to improv a little bit.
Yes.
And I do want to talk about jury duty also, but but enough. We can't string all your successes all in a row. It gets tiresome. If you when you are or were coaching and teaching, what are your pain points that you feel like are most important for you to address?
For me, what I loved about teaching and coaching, especially when I was working with people who had been through the UCB program, is I feel like so much of it was getting back to the person who had the instinctual stuff before you learned it all. And trying to get back to you stop thinking about it. What do you think is funny? Show us what you think is funny. And trying to get, even though there's so much analysis and so much to talk about in the moment, it is just just try to show us what you think is funny. People, I feel like so many scenes are fights. And there's not, so my note on that would be only have a funny fight. If you're fighting with the other character, you should be fighting with something that you think is funny. If they're just hey, we need the rent, and you're well, you never pay it. That's not a funny fight.
Right.
Why don't have that fight?
Yeah.
If you're I'm going to pay the rent, I have a ton of beans. Okay. If you think that's funny, you can have a fight about whether paying the rent in beans is a good idea or not. But so that was a big thing, was getting people to kind of just bring your sensibility back into the work. After you've kind of been through the program and the ringer.
Isn't it interesting? Did you find I find when I teach premise pulling, frequently people, it takes them a while to nail down, to access that part of themselves.
Yes.
When I say what's unusual about this picture or whatever, and they go oh, this, and it's what do you find funny about that? And they cannot say why it's funny.
Yeah.
Or they'll say well, I think it's funny because it's blue, or something that's it's the beans, right?
Yes,
it's
right.
do you honestly
right.
think, does that make you laugh? Are you going to go home today and tell your partner, I saw the funniest thing today? And if not, then find something that is funny about it to you. But why is that? Why?
Well, I think when you start a scene, I think the terrifying thing is not what am I going to say? It's people don't know how to be. Right? I don't know what's happening. We're on an empty stage. How am I supposed to even act? And so I think people are looking for patterns of behavior to grab onto, and we all know how to fight. We know what that is. We know the pattern of that. And so it's easy, it's comfortable to fall into a fight. We're oh, good.
Yeah.
I know what to do now. I just fight with you.
Yeah.
I don't like what you're saying. And we get into a fight. And so it's a panic move.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the basics of improv, of establishing the who, what, and where, let us know how to act, right? And so you can do that verbally. I was just listening to an earlier episode of this podcast where a Chicago person was talking about not wanting to say the who, what, and where at the top and just trusting. But I was listening to it, I was oh, but you're making an immediate assumption of how to act, how to behave. And then you're learning what the other person's is, and you're going to find the who, what, and where together. But that's the assumption that you're making. Instead of establishing environment, you're establishing your behavior.
Yeah, you're doing the how.
Yeah, the how and the comfort right away.
Right.
But some choice about some of that has to be made, or we can't be in a scene together.
Right.
And so to me, that's the How do we move past the top of that panic feel?
For part 2 of this episode, go to yesalso.supercast.com. If you like this podcast and you want double the content, head over to yesalso.supercast.com and subscribe. You can also help us out for free by subscribing to us on YouTube and talking us up to your improv communities. If you have a question that you'd like us to answer in one of our Q&A episodes, or a topic that you think would make a great bonus episode, put it in a 5-star review. If you're a theater who would like to host us for a live recording and improv show, let us know at yesalsopod@gmail.com. A very special thanks to our producer, Ryan Rosenberg, audio and video editor, Brian Kessler, and Britt, Faye, who does our marketing. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week. No, we won't, Suzi. That's not how podcasts work. They won't even see us. They will listen to us, so it's actually the opposite of both things you said. Thanks for listening, and you will listen to us next week. Maybe. We don't know.